All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Accessibility Talks. Each month we get together virtually and we talk to an accessibility expert and we ask them to share their knowledge. This month we're welcoming Catharine McNally, who works at Phase2 and is their accessibility lead. Catharine is an amazing person, and I swear she doesn't sleep because she works full times. She gives presentations. She's always hanging out with her dog and doing winter sports, and she owns her own business. So we're very thankful that she took a few minutes out of her busy schedule to talk with us about auto-captioning and presentations. Welcome, Catharine.
Thank you, Carrie. Thank you for the kind words. I do get myself busy, but it's an all good fun. I own a CrossFit on the side. So you can look at it as I am killing two birds with one stone with getting my fitness in at the same time. So that's good. I'm going to share my screen. Now, let's see here. Did I close it out? I hope not. Oh, there we go. Okay. Now, can I confirm that you can all see my screen? Okay, yes. I'm going to present. So we're going to be talking about live captioning, live. What great pressure to put on myself to try to demonstrate a live tool in a live setting. And this came about by accident. I was at Phase2. We have a distributed company culture with offices in Portland, New York, Washington, D.C., and remote areas. So we have a quarterly meeting where we all join together on a video conference like BlueJeans or Zoom. And we were getting lunch, and while we were waiting, I noticed on our Google Slides, this bottom left corner. In the bottom left were the Google slide animation. And it has this captions button. And I asked some of my colleagues, and I said, hey, there's a captioning button. Can we turn it on? They're like, oh, it's probably doesn't work. And I'm like, no, let's try it. Like, it probably is going to be delayed. It's probably going to be pretty bad. I said, well, let's just give it a try. It'd be helpful for me. In the moment I said that, they're like, oh, right, yes, we should probably do things to help for accessibility. So we turned on the captions button. So I'm going to turn it on right now. And it creates this smaller screen with captioning, and people began talking. And I was amazed at the speed and the quality of captioning. And it was interesting to watch live the corrections that the captioning will make based on the nuances of the sentence and the language. I was just amazed. And it was really fun because all of my co-workers were blown away. They were really excited to watch the technology in action right before their eyes. And we began to think of all the possibilities of this. These can become the transcript later, and these can help media engagement and not having to type notes all the time. So I wanted to kind of kick off the slide. I'm just talking about myself a little bit so that we can watch the captioning. I'm the accessibility lead at Phase2. I do a lot of quality and testing and guidance on accessibility best practices within the company and within our clients. I really love to help our clients understand the why and the how for accessibility. And I do this with a lot of fun exercises. And it's really with the support of the community, with people like Carrie, who are really going out and helping everybody understand the need in training for accessibility. So it's really a community effort. And I wanted to introduce you to my dog, Boo. He's named after Boo Radley from To Kill a Mockingbird. This is a picture of us from last month. he has arthritis in his front legs. So I got him a wagon and started pulling him on a walk because I wanted him to still be able to get outside for the 20 minutes that he was and still have the experience of seeing everything. So he would walk a quarter of the way. I would put him in the wagon for half the way and then take him out for the last quarter. And it's been a lot of fun. He loves it. And winter is my favorite season. I am loving this polar vortex right now. And I went camping last winter in West Virginia. And we were surprised by all of this snow. But it was amazing. I loved it. It was amazing. I would do it again. When I pulled up this picture for this presentation, I texted my friends and I said, let's do this again. I have to yet hear back from them. So as I mentioned, Phase 2 were distributed culture, and this is how the captioning got started. And I wanted to preface this to say that auto-captioning is not a substitute for quality real-time captioning, but it is a great tool for ad hoc presentations or when maybe the audience is not that hard of hearing. There is an importance for quality in captioning to ensure access. I'm hearing impaired, and I lost my hearing to meningitis when I was 8 months old. So I have a cochlear implant and I have an accent. So I wasn't even sure if Google Captions will understand me. So when I tried this with Carrie a few weeks ago, I was amazed that it was understanding me. And as you can see, it's correcting itself as I speak. I'm trying so hard to talk to you guys and not watch the captions. So I'm just hoping it's accurate. You'll have to give me the feedback at the end of the presentation. So I wanted to also go over the nuances of the different industries and different jargon that the captioning may not pick up on, but we were kind of surprised. So I'm going to go over some accessibility tips in the next few slides as further demonstration of this auto-captioning. A lot of times when I'm training content editors on writing good content for accessibility, I encourage them to think about the alt text like a tweet in Twitter. So using short, succinct descriptions to demonstrate and describe the context of a picture. For in this example, we're talking about disaster relief. And a young woman wearing a blue FEMA Corps shirt hoists an 18-pack of bottled waters over her shoulder as she walks down a gravel driveway in a small Puerto Rico home surrounded by downed trees. And this is an important description because it's communicating the emotion in the context of the image. So this is how I help content editors visualize and contextualize the alt description field. Another tool I like to use with designers is called colorsafe.co. The nice thing about this is you can set the color of the foreground or background, and it gives you acceptable ranges that meet conformance. So if I choose something that is white, it will give me the accepted values that meet compliance. And this helps in the design process, creating acceptable color ratios, 4.5 to 1 from the beginning of the process, as opposed to going through client approval and testing only to find that it fails contrast. And we all know that is not an easy thing to fix. We have to go back through the chain of stakeholder approval to change color contrast. So let's get the color contrast right in the design phase and help our designers understand how to find them. This is a great tool. Sometimes I enjoy when I'm trying to help our clients empathize and understand the experience, I use a Chrome plugin called Funkify. It's a disability simulator. And this is fun because you put it in the browser and when you activate it on any web page, for example, dyslexia, it was change the layout on the web to imitate or emulate what a dyslexia layout. Same thing with hand tremors, with Trembling Trevor. You can have hand tremors and it will move the cursor, and it's gonna take a lot of focus for somebody with a hand tremor to try to click on a small link or a small button. So you can experience what it's like to have small click targets. And so it's a fun tool. I encourage you to check it out. So as we all saw, if you want to do this with your teams, this is how you do it. I think I showed it to you in the beginning of the presentation. When you open up a Google presentation, it doesn't matter what video platform you're using, so long as you can show Google Slides within it. So when you go into Present View, the bottom left is a little prompt when you can advance the slides and you can turn on the closed captioning. That's it. That is the amazing piece. There's no installation that you have to do, literally nothing. It is right there, ready to go. Skype is also doing the same thing with Microsoft. Microsoft owns Skype, so it makes sense. So it's the same similar concept, same concept. So the captioning, as we are seeing live right now, is not perfect. Machine learning takes time. The more we use it, the better it becomes more accurate. So sometimes I get frustrated when people say, it's not good enough. We'll use it when it gets better. Well, if you don't use it, it can get better. So I think it's important to take this with a grain of salt and allow for use. I think the more people use it, the better the tool will become over time. If you think about YouTube captioning, that came out 5-6 years ago, it wasn't very good. But it took time for the algorithm and for the machine learning to learn about the speech patterns and cadence of speech. And it became better over time. And I think Carrie and I did a YouTube auto-captioning of one of our presentations, and we've seen it improving over time. So, and I want to also demonstrate another surprising element of this auto-captioning is the ability to caption other speakers, not in the room with me. So I'm going to open up to comment or Q&A, and you can see captions appear in the bottom of the screen. So please, I'm going to open up to questions, comments, reactions.
So I'm not sure if people can unmute themselves, but if anyone wants to try it, you can see my voice is getting picked up by Catherine's screen reader, or sorry, her captioning system. I don't even know what to call it, but let's see. Let's see, anyone want to talk?
You can tell me the dog's name, or if you also like winter.
Well, I do think we're seeing other people's words showing up right now as each of us jump on in. So I think that right there is showing the effectiveness of this tool. What did you say before about the transcript? Can these be used as transcripts later?
Not yet. I reached out to Google on Twitter and I asked them about the transcripts and whether or not they're available. And they said, yeah, yet, but it's the roadmap. So I think that's a really promising use case for this. Would you agree?
Yes, I think so. What do you think the implications would be of something like that? What would you do with a transcript that would come out of a meeting like this? What would be the next step?
Take notes. I think it would help because it's a note-taking mechanism. I personally take so many notes, but I need to pay attention to the speakers. So having a transcript would free me up from that. And also, with the transcript file stored in Google, I think that we can type in a phrase from a client meeting in the search bar of Google about Google Drive, and we can find that transcript and say, we discussed this on this date in this meeting, and you got that transcript as your reference point. So I think it could be a good way of recalling conversations.
Yeah, and I'm thinking that for some people, like in a case like this, or maybe a conference presentation, you could do this as like a first step towards transcripts or and the auto captioning too, part of the video. And then obviously it's going to need some massaging and some editing to make it succinct and accurate. But I think that that would save us a lot of time. I know that for us here at Accessibility Talks, we put our video up on YouTube and we wait for YouTube to do its thing. And then we fix all the things, the auto-captions is what they're called, that YouTube adds, and we fix them to make them more accurate. So it would kind of go a long way in that regard to have that. We wouldn't have to necessarily wait for YouTube to do that step.
Exactly. And I think the day that the transcripts come out, I would probably have an executive summary of notes above the transcript. These are the high points we covered in this meeting. These are the action items, and these are the takeaways. And then the transcript file cleaned up will be available. And I think we talked last week about the absence of punctuation. And that can be a little bit of a distraction. So we can provide punctuation in the transcript. Hi, David. I think I see the video coming on.
Oh, it looks like he's still muted. David, do you need help unmuting?
Okay, so do you see the bottom left?
I unmuted him.
Bottom. There we go.
Perfect.
Yes, it now says unmuted. It says unmuted now, but there we go. I can see the caption going through. I was wondering where in West Virginia that you were hiking, and also if you speak slower, does it help the caption work better?
Oh, you sound like my speech therapist. This was called Dolly Sides in West Virginia. So I'm going to start talking slower, and I suspect that the captions may lose quality because I'm not in fluid thought. But you're right, it is better. So maybe I was talking too fast earlier, I'm not sure. But I wasn't watching the captions earlier. Was it accurate?
At times. I think your accent sometimes, same with me, I think it just sometimes has problems with certain speaking too fast and then also some accents.
So
but it's pretty good. It self-corrects a lot too.
I wonder if multiple people are speaking at the same time, which one would have precedence? If 2 or 3 people spoke at the same time, how would the software know?
No, it picks you up, because I tried to say it like right now.
But if we both spoke at the same time, what would happen?
1, 2, 3, go.
I'm talking at the same time that you're talking. I can see. I was curious about that.
Oh boy. Yeah, it picked up one word between us.
Ah, that's an impossible situation for software to understand when you have to. Well, I know we a lot of times talk on top of each other.
Right. So, and one thing that I liked when I saw in the Skype is the picture of the person speaking. If you go back to my screenshot, let me see if I can advance back. Okay. Do you see there's a picture of each person speaking? I like that because
Yes.
it shows the speaker talking and it creates artificial punctuation, really with line breaks. So I thought that was interesting.
I'm amazed how well this works.
Isn't it great? And sometimes I feel like I should open up a presentation on my own and present to nobody and use it as my speech therapy. You'd be a lot cheaper than spending $100 an hour on a speech therapist. I can just go into an empty presentation and start speaking and see.
Don't say that. The speech therapists are going to yell at us. But I would say, Catherine, that one thing we did talk about when we were demoing this privately was that we talked about if we were going to give this as a talk, maybe at an upcoming conference or like an online presentation like this, that we could possibly record that with the captioning and then somehow, use that in our presentation, or either as a video demonstration, or again, if somebody needs a little bit of extra help. So it doesn't even necessarily have to be on Google Slides. You could see that or use that product later. I mean, there's a lot of different opportunities, I think, here, especially once it gets a little bit more robust, the technology, and the fact that you can get those transcripts. I think it's going to open a lot of cool doors.
I think that's exactly right. And I would imagine with the availability of the transcript track that we can edit the captions, kind of like we were saying, Carrie. That would be nice. Instead of having to create a video of a video, we could actually edit the transcript file like the YouTube version. You know how YouTube has auto-generated and then the edited version. I can envision the same thing happening here on Google Slides. When you have the auto-captioning version and then the edited captioning version for archival purposes. But again, we don't automatically record presentations on Google Slides. So I would envision that could be coming up.
Yeah, and we did speak to, did you want to demo the Skype, or are you not set up for that today?
Yeah, we opted against that.
Okay.
Just out of anxiety of switching.
That's totally legit, but I want to make sure before.
You got my Twitter right here and my email. I would be more than happy to do a demo with you guys over Skype. I've never tried it, and I would love to try it with you guys. So feel free to email me if you want to do a demo, and we can give it a try. And if there's a handful of you, maybe we can try to come together on a set time and give it a go.
That sounds good. I know Amy June has one question. There might be some more people with questions. Let me know if you're having problems unmuting, because some people, it looks like, are having a few issues. So just ping me or in the group chat, let me know.
And I think doing what David did was helpful. Turning on a video kind of gave it a sense of you wanting to speak. So if you're having issues with your meeting, that could be a helpful cue for us.
All right. There's Amy June. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Do you want to turn on your video, or are you not wanting to?
Me?
Oh,
No, I'm
you're
at
in
the
an
airport with a bunch of people.
That could be.
Which one of my questions was, how does the captioning do, like say I'm at a busy airport, does that sort of noise ambiance affect the captioning? And then I have a comment of, when I go to transcribe this video later with the YouTube auto-captioning, I'm going to be curious how different the two tracks are going to be. So that's just a comment, and maybe I can report back on Twitter how that goes, how different the two tracks are. But I'm just sort of wondering about the ambient noise factor.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a good point. One would think that they would be the same, given it to Google platform. But I think that's a fascinating experiment. So maybe Carrie, since she's recording, can upload this to her YouTube channel into the auto captioning, and we can do a side-by-side comparison.
That would be interesting. We can definitely do that. Did you still want to present your question?
So if you send me the video file, and what I'll do is I'll add a black rectangle over the captioning at the bottom, so that we can see the YouTube captions. As it may be very confusing to have captions with the YouTube captions overlaid.
I think Ellen had a question too.
Yeah, just kind of a comment. I think that the machine learning aspect of this is really interesting, and the way that the algorithm kind of struggles with proper nouns kind of reminds me of like spell check. And like I have a name that Microsoft Word or any type of spell checker always struggles to kind of understand, and always points out and can't really understand my name as a word. So as we see this technology progress, maybe we could see something where there's also the ability to teach it, teach it what your name is, or kind of, have some sort of recognition of like what your own voice sounds like. That could be a cool bit of progress.
Yeah, that actually happened with us last month when Carrie and I noticed that I misspelled my name. Like, no, it's C-A-T-H-A-O-I-N-E. And then the next time Carrie said it, I spelled my name correctly. But I also don't know if it's reading the slide as well, because the slide had my name written on it.
That's a little creepy, Catherine.
I know, I'm sorry to bring up creepy things, but I wonder, So I think that is, that did happen. And even when we were talking about Twitter last week, it said tweet, like trick or treat. It said tweet. I was like, no, like the bird, Twitter. And then I said tweet, and then it picked us up. So I think there's a little bit of like, it was weird. I was talking to the machine, like, no, that's not it. It's Twitter. Like, oh, okay. So who am I talking to? I'm talking to this little person in the computer. So it was interesting. So anyway, pronouns are going to be tricky. Just like when I was talking about Dolly sides for David, it got D-O-L-L-Y. Interestingly, but sides, like the wall, but S-O-D-S. So.
And we also talked about how there are some tools out there that are better at diction, like Dragon Naturally Speaking, where you can say things like period or new paragraph, and it'll do that for you. And I kind of wonder how long it'll be until we have something similar in these kind of, in Skype and the Microsoft one and in the Google Slides. Like, is it just a matter of time for that?
Well, yeah, and that reminds me of our continuing point on the punctuation happening naturally by understanding pause in conversation and understanding the language enough to know when comma gets inserted, apples, oranges, pears, and grapes. So I think we will see some punctuation happening in the near future. I cannot, for the life of me, say, Siri, call mom, period. I just can't do it. But I noticed that Siri puts in punctuation randomly. And I don't think we're too far away.
That reminds me of there's a joke, I'll have to find it later on Twitter, where the cars, will read sometimes the text if you have them set up, if you have the smart cars that are synced with your text messages. And if you send things like smiley faces, it'll say poop emoji, smiley face, smiley face, smiley face, slight smirk. And so it's just kind of funny to me, like, I wonder if that'll be the way that this works as well, where I can be in the middle of a presentation and say, period, smiley face. I don't know. I think it'd be fun, but maybe that's pushing it too far. But the technology is there in some places.
Right, and I think it's important as a community for us to continue to use these tools and recognize that it's a growing process, and it's only going to get better with mass adoption and use. And again, this goes back to what I was saying earlier. I, as a hearing impaired person user, would like to have the best access I can get. But I understand the realities of it sometimes. Things come up at the last minute. And I like to be cooperative when I can. So I understand, and I will use this. But if I'm going to a formal presentation or a conference, then it would be the standard to have a professional captioner. So, and I just wanted to put that out there, that they're just not a substitution for an ADA accommodation or anything like that.
Yeah, I think we talked about that personally a few times as well, where this technology is definitely not perfect and it's not a substitute, as you mentioned, but it's kind of interesting and it's cool. And it's kind of another example of accessibility becoming like more mainstream and something that people use in their everyday lives potentially, right? So I think it's not perfect, but it's getting there. And like you mentioned also, if we use it, if we yell at it to spell our name correctly, then maybe it'll get smarter, good and bad.
I think I also want to bring up a tangent point. I think the more we use this, the better it will become. And it will, I think, eventually become acceptable. The accuracy will become much richer. I would like to give an analogy. In the 90s, deaf and hard of hearing people were using text messaging, but it had a very small audience. So I wasn't incentivized to use text messaging. I wanted to be sure that I was able to do everything the mainstream did. Then Hurricane Katrina hit, and nobody could make phone calls. So they started text messaging. And then from that point on, text messaging became mainstream. And now something that was built for an accessibility purpose is now a mainstream news. So I kind of see a similar application with these technologies, and it had a niche exploration phase until it becomes more mainstream and it becomes better. So, and I think it's important to try it out, keep iterating on it, and using multiple options. So that's a good point, Carrie. Thank you.
Do we have any more questions for Catherine? I mentioned in the chat channel there, you don't have to speak if you don't want to, or even show your video if you don't feel comfortable with that, but I want to give everyone an opportunity to speak. One question I have, if no one else has any, I'll give you guys a few more minutes, but what other places do you see this kind of technology being beneficial? We talked about some examples, the Skype and the slides, maybe a presentation as a supplement, maybe a supplement or starting point for like a video transcript, but where else do you think that this could be useful?
I kind of wondered, I'm sorry to jump ahead, but I've wondered about a very in-person meeting with two people, and the person who is deaf or hard of hearing or cannot understand the other person, they could spin up a Google Slide presentation and have a captioning. But there's other tools for that, like Ava, and there's other dictation tools out there. But I do see the opportunity for real-time translation of the captions into foreign languages. So that is going to be pretty fascinating to see. And I don't think we're too far from that.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. I think there are some apps that are like that. At least visually, they can translate on the fly, and maybe speak and pass it on. But yeah, no, I think this is kind of interesting. I think you bring up a point too, that there's other, obviously more robust programs out there. But do they cost money? Is this possibly one of the other benefits? Is that these are right now more open sourced or free?
Right. So that's another aspect. The other tools out there also rely on machine learning, and they're only good as the volume of data they have. So I have actually found this Google to be better because it has other YouTube and years of audio processing. So these apps I use, one of them is called, what was it called? Otter, like the water mammal otter. It's called Auto.io. Let me type it in here.
Okay.
Otter. So it is a real-time dictation tool. But the caveat is you have to train a voice. So reporters use it. So I didn't realize it relied on dictation. So I enabled it and I put it down on my table when I was having a dinner party with 4 of my friends. It was transcribing the whole conversation for 30 minutes. It was fascinating, and it was surprisingly accurate, despite not having trained the speaker's voice. So, and another one is called Ava, A as in apple, V as in violet, yeah. So, right.
Do you want to read the question by Damien, or do you want me to ask it? For recording purposes here, Damien has a question in the chat. Has anyone checked to see what the captioning looks like when you're talking about tricky wording, like discussing code, medical procedures, character names in fiction books, movies, etc.? I'd imagine acronyms maybe in that group as well.
Yeah, we did in the very beginning when I talked about Boo Radley from To Kill a Mockingbird. It seemed to pick it up. But obviously didn't understand meningitis. But I think that is something that's going to be tricky, which is kind of why I started with the softball slides about my dog, about winter, to kind of get it warmed up. I kind of noticed that it needs some time to warm up before you can kind of get into the more complex ones. So, yeah.
So sorry, one point real quick is I wrote the wrong Otter URL. So don't go to otter.io, go to otter.ai. But it sounds like what you're saying are programs like that maybe are a little bit more machine learning, like we talked about, where they can learn certain phrases and things like that. So again, maybe that's something that Google Slides can do in the future or something like that, but possibly not something that can happen right now.
Right. So Deborah, I'm glad to see that you were able to use the accessibility presentation with the slides, but I can understand that it doesn't understand area. I'm assuming that it typed out AREA, like area of a circle. So what did it type out?
So for people who didn't read the caption or the chat here, it says, Deborah asked or stated that at our accessibility presentation in December Google Slides auto-captions were very good in understanding many coding words, but didn't understand ARIA, like ARIA, which is the acronym. So I wonder if she...
No,
Huh?
I thought it was area. It's a different thing. Now you correct me, ARIA.
Oh, sorry. Well, I think it's just like accessibility, like when you say ally, like I think people just say it differently, but from the Midwest, so maybe that's how I say it. Don't take my word for it, but it sounds like Deborah was also very pleasantly surprised. The speaker didn't know about the auto captions and was excited to see how they turned out. I think it typed out area like you spelled it, A-R-E-A.
So I'm glad that they worked out great. But I love how excited people get to see it. That's my favorite part. When people get excited about accessibility features, because that leads to greater adoption and use.
Yeah, I think that's very exciting. Oh, it looks like Christopher's on here. Let's see if I can unmute him real quick if you want. Oh, maybe not. He disappeared. Okay, Ashley says that's not just me. She pronounces aria like the musical aria as well. So
no, I'm the hearing impaired one. I'm supposed to mispronounce it. I just never heard it before. So I think you and Ashley are right. I'm just start saying aria from now on.
I think as long as we're talking about it at all, it kind of doesn't really matter how we say it, but as long as it's part of our discussion. But I'm trying to be, you're funny, Catherine. Like, you can say it however you want. All right, well, if we don't have any more questions, I know that one person popped on a video. Christopher did for a second. I'm not sure if he wants to be unmuted. Give it one more minute here, but any last closing thoughts that you might have to share with us, Catherine? Something profound? She's typing. Do you want to speak in
his hand? So I guess there is maybe we need to unmute him. I unmuted him.
Hi, this is Chris Mann in Fort Wayne. Sorry for checking in so late here. I just learned about this a little bit ago, but I'm intrigued about your presentation. I don't want to ask again what has already been asked, but will this be available for viewing later?
Yes, I'll post the YouTube link that we have. We have a channel. Many of the people that you can see and the participants have been guests as well. So we're always looking for new participants every month, and we talk about different levels of accessibility. Ashley, for instance, was talking about content creation and editing, and something that I know nothing about, but it was great to have her on there as an expert. And Catherine, of course, has been on here before. She's on here again today. So I'll send that link. We'll post it in the chat channel. But yeah, this will be, and we do take time to do captioning of the videos. Again, we're doing this as a volunteer organization. So we don't have a lot of money to pay anyone to do it. So we try our best to do the captioning, but we open up that to the community as well. If you find any errors and you need to correct that, you can easily do that as well.
Very good. Thank you.
Thanks for the enthusiasm, everybody.
Yeah, it was really cool to demo some things, and even though they're not quite perfect, I like this attitude of, trying it, making it better. As it goes, we need to keep using the tools that are available to us. So like you said, they'll get smarter and better. So this is really great. Thank you so much, Catherine.
Thank you. I look forward to talking to you guys. Bye.
See you later. Thank you, everyone. Bye.